Hello again, everybody, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages. Today, let's talk about prepping mistakes and how to avoid them. This is a series I've been doing. It's been a New York minute since I last left off on this series, so let's pick it up. Speaking of New York, real quick, thank you, Pancho Villa, from New York area, for the letter you sent. I appreciate it. Thank you, buddy. Anyway, without further ado, here we go. All right, everybody, thanks for being here. Ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, I appreciate you. I want to go ahead and tell you what we're going to talk about is this series that I started a while back. I'm picking it back up. I kind of left it on the back burner, but it is important information, I believe. It is prepping mistakes and how to avoid them. This will be volume 5. Some of these things start getting a little more detailed than some of the earlier stuff. If you haven't seen the earlier stuff for some of my newer subs, I recommend go back checking out prepping mistakes and how to avoid them, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Good information there, especially if you're new to prepping, or really even good information to consider if you're already prepping, because there's maybe things on there that you haven't considered. Also, I'm going to make a couple of announcements at the end of the video and kind of allude to a couple things that are coming up. So, without further ado, let's get right into this. All right, we left off on number 26. No, excuse me, we left off on number 24. And again, that's in volume 4. So let's just jump right in here. So, prepping mistake number 25, failure to plan for human waste. Sounds simple enough, right? No one wants to get sick, right? No one wants to contract a disease, especially in a circumstance where it can go untreated, where you don't have proper medical care, facilities, personnel, etc. One of the best ways, one of the easiest ways to get sick is dealing with human waste. One of the best ways to avoid sickness is to maintain good hygiene and to properly dispose of your human waste. It's not as easy as it may sound, you know. You don't necessarily want to just dig a hole and put it all in there, you know, because then you potentially contaminate, you know, your groundwater and your soil and things like that, and that's just not a good idea anyway, in and of itself. But, you know, but you're not going to have likely traditional waste systems. They're going to be inoperable due to the lack of water or ruptured pipes, or you know, the power being cut off. I mean, think about it. Your water that runs in your pipes in your municipalities, right? In your cities, your towns, I mean, lots of rural places too. Even on properties with wells, which if you've been watching, you know, we're acquiring one. And, you know, they're electrically driven. So you've got to have another plan to get water. But speaking to the hygiene part of it, if you plan for this contingency, it does not have to be complicated. For starters, for a temporary thing, hefty bags, 5-gallon buckets, kitty litter can be used. The point is not to omit this very important prep. Now, there are different ways you can go about it. In this, I'm really bringing this to your attention. I'm not here to get into all the different ways you can. Those are other things you can research. There are videos in and of themselves that can talk about that. Plenty of them out there. I've seen a few. There's a lot of good ideas and good ways. I mean, you can dig a hole in the ground and dispose of your waste if you do it the right way. But just don't willy-nilly start doing these things. So plan for that. That's number 25. So number 26, preparing mostly to bug out rather than bugging in, or bugging out or not. Now, you know, all of us prepper type folks and all that, everybody's got a video on bug out bags, and everybody talks about bug out bags. Without question, that is important. Having your most basic survival items in a pack that you can grab and go in a hurry is important. Having it with you all the time, that's important, no doubt about it. But beyond that, one thing I have seen with a lot of folks, okay, not everybody, you know, but a lot of people in the prepping community, I know some personally, you know, that kind of operate at least partially this way, and that is that their plan is to bug out, period. You know, either hiking through the woods, you know, what is it, wandering around, being a nomad, and, you know, not staying in one place too long, and living in the woods and bushcrafting and all this stuff. That all sounds, you know, like a movie, really, you know, like your John Rambo or something. And old reference for some of you guys probably, but it's in my opinion, it's not a viable plan. I mean, there are some very unique individuals who could probably pull that off, okay? But for the most of us, we like our creature comforts. Even in an SHTF scenario, when we're sitting around, you know, you'd rather be sitting around at a home base, you know. I mean, even if there's a lot of things you don't have and your life's dramatically and drastically different, okay? So the point is, for most people, certainly for me and my family, bugging in or hunkering down is our preferred way to go about it. Now, for many, including myself, the choice to bug in has to do with family, health concerns, financial considerations, plus the, you know, availability of your stored supplies. I mean, sorry guys for the splicing and stuff. The camera's acting funny. It's done this before. I don't know what it is, but without getting into all that. Bottom line, we were talking about preparing to bug in, or preparing to bug out rather than focusing on bugging in. All right. If you've got a location to bug out to, and that's where everything is, you know, that's one thing. But if you're just going to bug out for the sake of bugging out, you know, and look, you may be in a position, you may be forced in a position where that's what you have to do. You may have to pick up and leave your preps. I mean, you may have to, you know. I mean, you're just going to have to make those decisions yourself as you go. But I think you should have a contingency for both, but you should, you know, I believe, my opinion is that you should consider, if you can stay where you are, have that plan in place too, even if you're a bug out person, okay? Let's just put it that way. You got to have a plan for evacuation, but don't ignore the possibilities of you staying put and bugging in, okay? So unless your home is absolutely not safe, plan to shelter in place rather than take your chances in the wilderness or at Camp FEMA, you know, if you don't, again, have a specific plan to do such. Number 27 is failure to evacuate at just the right time. So, okay, we're just talking about bugging in, but sometimes you're going to have to evacuate. Let's think about storms, natural disasters, events like that, all right? You know, if you live in some of these areas where these things are prominent and these things happen and these are things you got to worry about, and they announce, hey, a storm's coming. I mean, if there's a 50% or better chance that it's fixing to come and ravage your area, why wouldn't you leave? It'd be silly not to. Get out of harm's way. You know, take precautionary measures. Have your vehicle, have stuff ready and staged that you can load into your vehicle and take off and get gone. Because these things happen. And even we're talking about, let's talk about, you know, all this stuff in the world that's going on, all right? Natural disasters aside, you know, if things go down in such a crazy enough way where the disruption happens, you know, because it may be a fallen tree or a mudslide or, you know, or a torn up road or bridge or something, but it may also be gangs of looters and thieves and murderers, you know, it may also be enemies, foreign or domestic, okay, so that you have to, you know, get away from if you've got to. So know when to evacuate. When you see the triggers, when you see the signs, if it's time to go, get gone, okay? So you got to have a plan for both is sort of my thing, and you've got to have multiple routes, which brings me to number 28, not having an evacuation route planned in advance, okay? So yeah, we talked about bugging in, like I say, but if you do have to go, you need to know which way you're going to go. And first of all, you need to know where you're going to go, or don't bother, okay? You can't just don't not have a plan, okay? If you're going to go somewhere, or if that's your secondary contingency, okay? Have more than one route. Know a route by foot, know a route by bicycle. You know, have more than one to get you to that place, and have everybody on your family, on your team, on the same page with it, okay? Be ready. Just be ready. Be prepared. Now, this is going to be one of those specific ones, number 29. For those Berkey water filtration users out there, this is for you guys. I'm familiar with Berkey systems. I do not use one. I don't have one. It's only because I don't. I mean, it's something I've looked into. I wouldn't mind having one, a Berkey system, and that may be part of our future preps, but right now we don't. But using a Berkey day to day and never testing your filters. The Berkey is considered, I've heard, to be one of the finer water filtration systems. They can be expensive, I'm told, and I've seen. Why wouldn't you want to keep it in pristine condition? You know, it just fine-tuned. Make sure it's clean, it's working correctly. You should test your filters by using the red food dye test at least twice a year, if not more, really. I would say quarterly. You know, failures do happen, but often they can be fixed by easy things like repriming the filters or resetting the washers. Do not wait until there is a water event before testing your Berkeys. This is important, okay? Number 30, and probably the last one I'm going to cover in this video, because like I say, I had some couple things I wanted to hit on too, something else. Number 30, storing pool shock, not knowing how to use it. Again, another specific item here. For those of you that don't know, you can use pool shock to treat water. You can get the little water tabs, you can use the water filtration systems, you can boil if that's possible, if you got fuel, and you know, can do it discreetly if you need to and all that. Bleach, all kinds of ways. Pool shock is a cheap bulk item that can, I say cheap, it's relatively inexpensive, and a bulk item that you can keep, and you can make drinkable water out of it. It lasts longer than bleach. You know, it's, a lot of people use it. A lot of people keep it. I do not. Again, it's not because I choose not to. It's just because it's one of the things that I have learned about and considered and just haven't done. And you know, and I may one day. But at any rate, what I do know about it, because I've looked into all this stuff, you've got to know just how to mix this stuff. Okay, so you can, and that goes with any preps. Storing up preps and not knowing how to use them, not knowing what their purpose is, not knowing the right ratios, all that kind of stuff. Bad juju, okay? So that's all I'm going to cover on prepping mistakes, okay, and how to avoid them. A couple other things I wanted to mention is, and Zombie actually, just as I was doing this, dropped a video and I saw the title. And we spoke earlier today, Zombie Farmer and I, about, you know, this deal with, you know, the United States basically telling all these countries, including China, you know, to quit getting their oil from Iran, these sanctions and all this stuff. And of course, that's going to be a big deal. Now, there are some who believe that China would rather do oil business elsewhere to keep a relationship with the United States, and there are people that feel entirely differently. I do not know how I feel about that. I don't believe the Chinese like us at all, personally. And I have heard, and I've heard mixed reviews about this, about whether or not this is true, but I have heard that they, you know, they certainly have the, that they have the capability of kind of putting a hurt on us militarily, okay? I know they've got the sheer numbers, okay, but whether or not they're prepared and trained, that's a whole nother topic. I'm not here to get into that topic. I just want to touch on that. We're doing a prepper. This is another one of the announcements here. We're doing a prepper live stream trio, like you guys have maybe seen before, with myself, Kansas Prepper, and Zombie Farmer. It'll be on my channel, hosted on my channel. So tune into my channel, Real World Prepper, on this coming Friday, May 10th at 7 Central p.m. Okay, and we're going to talk about this. I think we're going to talk a little bit about some EMP awareness, threat, and protection. Like I say, we're definitely going to talk about this China-Iran thing, and these other countries that are involved in this thing. I think at this point only India is the only one that has said they won't purchase oil from Iran, but we know that's a lie. They're going to do it anyway. They've already said as much, just through different backdoor means. We're going to talk about these political things that are going on. There's lots of things going on in the world. Any of these things can be the trigger that sets this whole thing off, okay? I'm not a doomsdayer and a fearmonger, but I prepare, because I believe there is too much turmoil, too many things that are going on that align with what I know about what is written about how things are going to go. So tune in for that. The shirts, if you want a shirt, just send me an email, okay? I just would rather direct message anybody. If you want a shirt, I've provided some shirts for some other people. Really what I'm doing is giving away shirts and accepting donations. I'm just put it that way. So if you want a shirt, email me. It's in my About section. If you want to support this channel or send me a letter or, you know, put a gift in the mail, not obligated, but thank you if you do. My About section has my P.O. box also. So I would appreciate any and all help. I appreciate more than anything you guys being here and subscribe to this channel and watching this stuff. I appreciate it. I hope you watch this video to the end. I'll see you next time. That's it. Real World Prepper. Want to give a shout out to Pancho Villa. Sent me some mail. I appreciate it, brother. And sorry it's at the very end of this video, but thank you anyway. Real World Prepper. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.